everybody. Well, the Commissioners Finance meeting today, July 12th, 2023, 1:30 has arrived. So we'll call the meeting to order. Open with an opportunity for public comment. Have anybody online? No one in the house wanting to comment? All right. Then we'll move on to item 3. We have the minutes in hand of our July 5, 2023.
Move to approve minutes of July 5.
A second.
Moved and seconded. No further questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Brings us to the topics for discussion for today's meeting. Several. We'll begin in order here. We have the capital projects request for ERP and Lawson server migration. Beth's with us and Bob. You go by Bob or Robert?
Robert.
Robert. That's what I thought. Okay. Haven't seen you in a while. So okay, Robert Corner. Okay, so you guys are going to speak to this. The floor is yours.
The last time we were here, we were proposing to update both Kronos and Lawson. I'm happy to announce Kronos went live March 26th, and we feel it was very successful. What we're bringing to you today is an upgrade to our servers. Lawson announced in February that the decommission date for Infor has been changed to December of 2030 instead of 2025. So that gives us 5 more years to plan out the large project. It allows us to take a step back and reevaluate and not rush into it and make decisions hastily so that we can make sure we do the best for the county and for the county's employees. In the meantime, we do have the issue that the Microsoft Windows operating system that we are using is still being decommissioned as of October 2023. In order to continue using that operating system, we would have to pay additional maintenance costs. With this delay to Infor being decommissioned, we feel it's in the best interest of the county if we go ahead and upgrade this operating system. One of the other factors that contribute to this decision was the antivirus software that handles all of our servers here throughout the county is being also decommissioned in October of 2023 and is only going to be extended for 1 year. So a year from now, we would not have antivirus software. Very important to have updated software for antivirus, especially when dealing with our financial system. So we decided it was more cost effective to do this upgrade now. It's a 3-month project, should be done by the end of October, and allows us to have a more secure environment going forward with all the individual pieces being updated by both Microsoft and our antivirus software. Infor does require a certified consultant to reinstall the Lawson software. Most of the project we can do in-house, creating the servers that we need using the hardware that we already own. We do not need to update any hardware. IMTO is creating those servers and installing the Windows information, new versions, and the SQL server new versions. But we do have to have a consultant install Lawson itself. So the capital project request that's in front of you is for this project, and we estimated $110,000 for that project. And the contract, that's the second item on the agenda, is also for the same project. The contract is with RPI, and it's for $97,990. It's a fixed cost contract, so whatever we need, they will cover with that amount with no additional cost. Included in that contract is a technical assessment, building both the test environments and the production environments, and support after go live. I am asking for action today to be taken on both the capital project and the RPI contract. Got any questions?
It's kind of a relief, isn't it? That extra time.
It is. We do not want to wait a full 7 years. We want to start, sooner, but we also have that breathing room now to hold off, make sure this is really going to be the best thing for the county.
Second item is $97,990.
Yes.
Okay, it's not noted anywhere. Not doubting you, but it's not on any of the paperwork that I have.
Is there a reason that number wasn't delineated? Sometimes the number isn't there because the project is kind of flowing.
Right.
So I'm just wondering.
I'm not aware of why it's not there.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Who prepared the paper?
I did.
Okay.
I don't actually have a copy of the cover sheet. It's a new contract.
You can let Beth see that. Lauren has the original. I don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah, on the Lawson paperwork, the amounts on the Lawson paperwork,
It's 97,990.
$97,990. Should it have been under the new contract grant amount? That's where you expected to see it.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Better we clear it up. Right, then try to move forward and not have it nailed down.
Okay.
So there'll be no action on this today then? Are we going to go?
So I asked for action to be taken on both the capital project and the RBI
Right.
contract.
So the choice for the commissioners is either to table it and pass it once documentation requested is received, or to take action on it contingent upon those things being sufficiently provided.
I think we just cleared it up.
Okay.
I think it was just an oversight, a clerical
Yeah.
oversight on filling out the commissioner's box on the cover
Right. But
sheet.
the question remains, should it be documented? I guess I missed that part. Are we, is
I
that
think-
sufficient?
Did we write the number in?
Is that sufficient documentation?
I think the documentation is there in the packet. It's just what we
Okay.
provide in your packet
Okay.
is just the cover sheet that didn't have it, but it is in the documents itself.
We're used to it appearing there, so it's easy to find. So exception. Okay, so in that case, we're ready for,
I'm gonna move to approve the capital project request for ERP for the Info Lawson server migration with a total project cost of $110,000.
Second.
okay, so moved and seconded. There's no further questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then I will move to approve the RPI contract for ERP in the amount of $97,990.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, that moves us on to the presentation regarding electrification. Durham is here. Like that was necktie once again. I can't usually see it that way.
Everybody says that. Maybe we need to start wearing it more, I guess. How advanced is it? Oh, okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm here today to talk about the county vehicle fleet, possibility of electrifying at least a portion of our fleet. In early 2022, we started working with Wilson Engineering on a study looking at the possibility of electrifying some of the vehicles. This study was funded by U.S. Department of Energy as well as Pennsylvania DEP. The first step was to gather a bunch of data on each vehicle. We did a survey, we looked at each vehicle, looked at the mileage, the usage, was it driven long distance, short distance, how much time between uses And we also then pulled the fuel data for 2 years for each vehicle. That was sent to the engineer, and it went. There was 118 vehicles included in this study. They're mostly SUVs, trucks, and sedans. About 80% of our fleet is that fall in that category. The average age of our fleet, just so you know, is 11 years old. We have 55 vehicles that are 2012 and older. The study looked at all electric options. It looked at the HEV, which is the hybrid electric. It looked at the PHEV, which is the plug-in hybrid electric, and also the battery electric vehicles. It also looked at right-sizing vehicles using, we have quite a few SUVs that they looked at right-sizing by using a what's called a crossover SUV. It's a little bit smaller, but it still sits higher. It still has all the same qualifications for the most part as a regular SUV. It's just a little lighter and sits on a sedan frame. From that study, it came back with 78 potential vehicles for electrification. Now, a large number of those vehicles were the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid. Now, just so you know, the hybrid electric vehicle it runs on gas. It has electric kicks in from time to time, but it's the battery is powered by the gas engine. The plug-in hybrid is just the opposite. It runs on electric first, and then the gas kicks in when the electric runs out. The problem with the plug-in electric vehicles is they only get you about 30 couple miles in electric before you turn over to gas, and they're quite pricey. So for this presentation, I looked strictly at the battery electric vehicles. They were the ones that were available or had potential of being available for a grant funding, the Alternative Fuels Incentive Grant, and that's why I targeted the battery powered vehicles. I took the list, 78 vehicles. I compared it to all vehicles that were slated to be replaced in 2023, 2024, 2025. This review took me down to 12 vehicles, and then I lessened that review to 8 vehicles for a couple different reasons. I want to share with you there are several things that are different with electric vehicles. That shows you the 8 vehicles that I'm proposing that we replace. These vehicles average about 14 years of age. So anyway, when you look at electric vehicles, like I said, there's quite a bit of differences. So I'm going to go through some of those differences for you. First is cost of ownership. Electric vehicles, they cost more initially than their gas counterparts. The vehicles that I'm proposing, they range in price from $4,568 up to $14,800 more than the gas version. Fuel savings is where we gain a rather big difference. You'll see that I'm proposing a lot of the Chevy Bolt EUVs, which they have a 65 kilowatt battery. They get 247 miles per charge. I broke that down into what it would cost us electric-wise to run that electric car 100 miles. To run an electric car 100 miles will cost us about $2 of electricity. Now, I compare that to several of the vehicles that we're replacing at 20 miles to the gallon. You're talking 5 gallons of gas at $3.50. You're looking at $17.50 to run that gas version, 100 miles. So there's considerable savings there. The electric rates, we have a very competitive electric rate, which also helps us with those numbers.
How long is that locked in?
I believe it's till 2025, Gary. I think we have 2 more years on that contract. Maintenance, maintenance costs on the electric vehicles. The electric vehicle has about 80% less moving parts than a gas vehicle. So the maintenance is much lower. You don't have filters, you don't have oil, you don't have the oil changes, you don't have, spark plugs and mufflers. The brakes, you replace the brakes are much less in electric vehicles because they do a regenerative braking. You let off the accelerator, the motor starts slowing you down. So you use the brakes much less. Insurance. Now, insurance costs are higher for electric vehicles. The reason for that is not because they're unsafe. The reason is because they are a lot more expensive to repair once they're in a collision. Warranty. The warranty comparing electric and gas is very similar for most models. However, if the electric vehicle, there's a federal mandate that requires manufacturers to provide an 8-year warranty on the batteries on electric vehicles, which that's a nice thing to have. Grant, like I said, the AFIG, the Alternative Fuel Incentive Grant, had $7,500 per vehicle available for electric vehicles. We did apply for that. And I think you'll see that when I ran these numbers, that's a critical component to making this all make financial sense. There's also Inflation Reduction Act came along, where we are now eligible for clean energy tax credits through a direct pay mechanism. These credits can be up to $7,500 per vehicle, but there are some stipulations. Final assembly of the vehicle must be in North America. You can get $3,750 if the vehicle meets critical mineral requirements. There's a percentage of the battery minerals that's in the battery that has to be sourced in North America. There's also the battery components. There's $3,750 available if some of the battery components are manufactured or assembled or sourced in North America. I didn't include any of the Inflation Reduction Act money on my numbers here that you'll see, and I purposely didn't do that because until we have an actual VIN number, it's very difficult to know where the battery components and where the minerals were sourced. So it's really, I can tell you in research that I believe the Chevy Bolts are going to fall under this category and will be eligible for $7,500 each, but I can't guarantee that. The Inflation Reduction Act also limits out at $40,000 as well. We also just were notified of an EECBG grant, in the amount of $274,000. That grant, these projects would be eligible for that grant. Kirk and I are working through some of that. We'll be following up with Stacy on the timing of that grant.
Brent, what was the name of that grant?
It's EECBG.
And when you say that the Inflation Reduction Act limits at $40,000, is that per vehicle?
I think it's per year, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay, I'd like to know that. Just
I'll find it out for sure. Yeah, because this Inflation Reduction Act is for a long period of time, and I don't know. I'll get you the answer for that. The charging and range. These electric vehicles obviously need charged. There's 3 types of chargers. There's a level 1, level 2, and what's called level 3 chargers, a DC charger. Level 1 is the same as what you might have in your garage at home. It's just 120 volt, 20 amp outlet. The level 2 chargers is what I'm proposing in this proposal. We're looking at installing 6 level 2 chargers. At the level 1 charger, you get 5 miles per hour of charge. Level 2, you'll get 36 miles per hour of charge. We're looking at placing 4 of these chargers at 1601 Britner Highway. The other 2 will go to Allen Road, 310 Allen Road. The install of these chargers is $26,500 is what we're estimating, and the AFIG grant will cover 50% of that if approved. The maintenance on the chargers is very minimal. It's just a yearly cleaning to them. I was told by Siemens if we commission these chargers to Siemens Network, we'll get updates and get online tech support if needed, and that's at no cost. The lifespan of chargers is estimated 6 to 7 years. Now, the charger current price of a charger is $1,750. So overall, in that $26,500 price, most of that is building the infrastructure for the charger. It's not the charger itself. I included 6 chargers in this, trying to use as much grant money as reasonable, as what I felt was reasonable. Do we really need 6 chargers for 8 vehicles? Probably not. But we'll get the infrastructure in place, and we'll be set for down the road if we continue purchasing electric vehicles. We'll be able to add some more chargers at very minimal cost. Reliability of chargers. These chargers are they're very reliable. If you get on the internet and start searching, though, you may see stories that tell you otherwise. Most of the horror stories about chargers are relative to public places where people just don't care, where they drop the charger or they drop the end, they run over it, they break it, all those type of things. But they assured me that these chargers are very, very reliable. From a security standpoint, we can secure these chargers. And we're thinking of using our RFID cards. We all carry those, and we'll be able to set the permissions as to who will have permission to use the charger. So, the public or other county employees will not, have the ability to come in and charge their own vehicles. Safety of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are very safe. The Chevy Bolts that I'm recommending here, they have a 5-star crash rating. As far as collisions, the Highway Loss Data Institute report shows that there's 40% lower injury claims when an electric vehicle is compared to the identical gas vehicle. What they attribute to that is the vehicles with the batteries are much heavier. Their center of gravity weight is much lower. And because of that extra weight, the vehicle takes most of the energy when in a collision and not so much the occupant. The reliability of electric vehicles. I just got done telling you that they have less moving parts, so one would make the assumption that they're more reliable, but at this point in time, that's not necessarily the case. Electric vehicles, their motors, their drive units, they're all they're running very efficiently, and they're having a lot of success with those. Where they're failing is these vehicles have advanced technology in them, and they're having technology issues from time to time. It's about 11% more electric vehicle failures as compared to gas vehicle failures. So it's not huge, and that gap gets closer every year. The benefits of having an electric vehicle, obviously, reduced greenhouse gas, improved air quality, climate change, combat climate change, and energy efficiency. I'm not going to talk much about that, but one thing I just wanted to make note of is in January 2022, the county adopted the Climate Action Plan. In that plan, transportation sector was listed as the largest contributing sector to greenhouse gases. Also, one of the implementation actions in that report was to have a feasibility study done on our county fleet, which we did. And I think the proposal here to move a portion of our fleet to electric really is just a natural progression of that action plan. Just so you know, we'll be reducing fuel by roughly 3,200 gallons a year. We'll be saving 27 tons of CO2. Challenges and concerns, obviously battery replacement costs are high. Like I said, they're warranted for 8 years, but we may be looking at a quicker turnover in vehicles than what we're accustomed to. The range. Currently, the vehicles that we looked at are all run local, so range really isn't a big concern. But we are limited with these vehicles that the employees may not want or feel comfortable driving them long distance. Until the infrastructure gets better in place. The battery capacity does reduce some in cold weather. They say anywhere between 12 to 40%. Really depends on whether you run the heater and how long you run the heaters in the vehicles as to how much battery usage it takes. Summer, same thing. When it gets extremely hot, you lose about 17% of its capacity. The other things that I had noted in here are just things that could affect my numbers and my projections. I've marked down electric grid and the future electric pricing and battery recycling. And these are all things that in all probability are going to go up or may go up, which would impact the numbers that I'm going to show you now. Here's the summary of the vehicles, and I'll just explain to you what I have here. The first there to the left, the blue or gray, whatever that is, you'll see where these are two SUVs that we're looking to replace. I compared it, if you look in the left column, the Chevy Bolt, I put the dealer price, and then I put in the price of the government incentive, the AFIG grant, and then I get to a purchase price. And then I start doing comparisons where annual maintenance, I have 500 for the electric, 900 for the gas model. Fuel, 200 versus $1,120. Now that's based on 8,000 miles of use a year is what these average out to. I did put in a difference for the electric vehicles in the 200. I put $200 down for additional insurance costs. And you'll see that the difference, the total annual cost there in the first two columns is $900 versus $2,020 a year. I then took that and broke it on down as to what our final cost would be. And if you look at the bottom two, you'll see where the 5-year cost savings per vehicle there would be $7,950. You know, I reference back to the $7,500 grant. You know, if we didn't have that $7,500 grant, we would only be looking at less than a $500 savings at that point for those vehicles. The next columns over, those are 4 sedans that we're looking to replace. And I kept with the Chevy Bolts here. Again, that's the compact SUVs compared to the Chevy Impalas, and you can see that it gets the numbers get a little bit better there. The 2023 Chevy Impalas actually don't get very good gas mileage, so you see those numbers there. I think. Do you have the one that we sent to you? Conservation, there's a truck, and I have the numbers. She'll get it up here for you to see.
I believe it is in the packets, the information.
Okay. That particular vehicle, they want to change to a pickup truck. Conservation does. The Ford pickup truck actually went up. I had it here. Okay, thank you. Actually went up $20,000 in each time. It really made a lot of sense financially a year ago. You'll see now that the 5-year, we're still actually $584 behind at the 5-year mark with that truck. We'll be $3,500 ahead at the 8-year mark. But this is conservation. They're out and about, and it's probably a good department to have an electric vehicle. And then the last one over there is it's a van. It's for facilities, and you'll see the savings there as well. The one thing I do want to also point out is with the fuel. When I say $200 of fuel a year, I'm taking that 65 kW battery. They rate it at $247 or 247 miles on a full charge. Okay. What they don't tell you is how the regenerative braking system works. And you get to 247 miles out of that full charge when you're accelerating and going down the road. When you go in towns and you're going from stop sign to stop sign or red light to red light, you give a little bit of acceleration and you let off the pedal, that regeneration starts. And I'll give you an example. I did have an electric van that I took for a test run up on 81. On 81, I was going down 1 mile of available charge was going down per every mile I was going. It was running neck and neck. I got off 81 and drove almost 7 miles through a development. I used less than 2 miles of charge going through that 7 miles of stretch. So the fuel savings could even be larger than what I'm saying here, depending on how or where it's driven. So. The one thing also in my projections here I do want to note is I did not take a number out for the cost of the initial chargers. And I also did not do any sort of depreciation difference, the gas versus electric down the road. I do suspect that the electric vehicles, as they age with technology have in there, they may depreciate a little quicker than a gas model vehicle, but I don't know that, so I didn't run those projections. So I gave you all the information there. I'm certainly ready or willing to answer any questions. after we answer questions, I would ask that you, for approval of the capital project request, in the amount of $400,000 for 8 vehicles and 6 charging stations. But I would ask that you do it contingent upon the approval and acceptance of the alternative fuels incentive grant.
Okay, questions?
Brent, you mentioned something earlier, 274,000 ECPG grant.
Yes,
Where does that come into play here at all?
I don't have that built in there at all. I don't have that. That was just, that actually was not even going to mention that. And I talked to Kirk yesterday and he said, well, just throw it out there that it's available. There's other things that grant can be used for. The one thing that we're looking for is, in 2020, the Guaranteed Energy Savings Program that John had developed expired. That we're looking at the possibility that money could be used towards, starting one of those programs again. But there's multiple uses, and we just haven't totally figured out maybe what the best use is for that grant.
Commissioners, this is Kirk. If I could just give you a little background on EECPG grant. That grant is coming from the bipartisan infrastructure law. So counties will receive the formula allocation for that grant. The commissioners approved this a while back, our application to do it, I believe it was in April. We just received word last week that we're able to apply for the grant now. Electric vehicles and charging infrastructure is an eligible use for that grant. So that comes in the amount of a little over $274,000. So we're working on opportunities for that. This is a great opportunity. They have what they call blueprints of certain uses that they'd like to see the money used for that are accelerated through the federal process. So this could be an excellent opportunity for us to take that money, offset some costs that otherwise we're going to pay for with other funds, and have it go through a process to be expedited for us and see some cost savings for the county.
That's the federal grant, Kirk, that the EECBG.
That's correct. It's an
Okay,
Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant Program. So we also received money from that program, I believe in the 2012 timeframe. We received a little over $2 million at that time. We used it for a lot of internal energy efficiency projects and provided some grants to our municipal partners for similar type projects.
that was in 2012?
I believe so. Yeah, it's a while
Was
ago.
that part of the Constellation project?
No,
No, okay.
this was in addition.
And Brent, the alternative fuels grant, which is listed at 73,000 and some change.
Yes.
You say that's not fully approved yet? Could you mention something about a contingency?
Correct. Until we receive all of the legal documentation and I can bring it forward for you to approve the acceptance of it, I would ask that you just make this motion contingent upon that.
Okay.
So it's not that money's not available, it's that we have to jump through a certain number of hoops to make it official. And
Correct.
making it contingent on the actual implementation. So,
Correct.
I have another question.
Yes,
You mentioned that some of this grant money is contingent upon the mineral makeup
yes,
of a battery. You won't know this until you have the VIN number. You can get the VIN number before we purchase the car, correct? It's just like me buying a car.
Oh,
I get
yes,
the VIN number.
yes.
Okay.
yes. But
Okay.
most of these vehicles at this point need ordered. So until we order, the vehicle comes in, we're not gonna know for sure.
So if we order a vehicle and we don't have the VIN number, we won't know if we can use the grant dollars.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And those numbers, again, that are contingent upon things like the mineral makeup of a battery.
Mhm.
What were those 2 grants amount? I think one was 2,700. They were tied to 2 different grant awards.
It was $3,750 for each.
Okay,
It was $3,750 for the mineral portion of it. It was $3,750 towards the battery component portion of it.
and so if we order these vehicles, we get the VIN numbers, and they don't meet this criteria. Tell me what we do.
At this point, quite honestly, I'm viewing the Inflation Reduction Act and the availability of these tax credits, but more as just a bonus than anything.
Okay.
But like I said, I didn't bring that as a factor in my numbers. I think when you look at the numbers, I think it makes financial sense to move forward with this. That's my opinion. You may have a different opinion, but
Well, I don't know that I have a different opinion. It's just that piece, right, that piece is, I mean, and certainly these are not make or break numbers,
Yeah.
right?
yes,
But that piece is very interesting, that's part of the requirement, but you don't know if you fulfilled the requirement until you ordered the car and then you get the VIN number.
you actually, if you go to the federal website that talks about it, it has a spot in there where you plug in your VIN number. And then you can tell, it'll
Yeah.
tell you. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I looked at this multiple ways trying to figure it out. And I just can't comfortably say that, that these are eligible. I can show you documentation that shows that the Chevy Bolt EUVs are eligible, but
No, I hear you, Brent.
I-
I have to ask, right?
I understand, and I don't want to say something false either.
Right, no, I appreciate that. I think
Yeah.
too that, when we talk about lots of grants, right, they become complicated.
Yes.
And I think that it's, I think that like the people of Cumberland County need to know that applying for grants is a complicated process, and that there's this project out there, there's this grant money out there that looks like it's fantastic, right? It really is for green projects, for energy reduction, for sustainability. And then there's that little tidbit in there, right? That you have to figure out how you're gonna work it.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, this was my first go at a grant and applying for a grant. It was very labor intensive,
Yes, it sounds
very
like,
labor
very
intensive.
sounds it.
It's very surprising to me. And actually, Kirk and some of his staff actually helped me write some of the narrative for it, which is, I was greatly appreciative of that.
Well, thanks for answering my question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I got a few.
Okay,
Forgive me if it's anything you've already touched on.
that's okay.
So the lifespan of the vehicles that we're eyeballing is approximately, do we know?
I don't know exactly. They're going far beyond 10 years. I really didn't look beyond the 8-year mark, just because that's how long the batteries are warranted for. Right now the batteries are running about 150 per kW for replacement cost, which to round that out is, around $10,000 of today's money it would cost to replace the batteries in the Chevy Bolt. In 8 years from now, if we decide to keep the vehicle, if it's running good and we think it's going to continue on, do we pay for new battery? Do we? It's a good question. I don't know the answer.
So we are the outright owner of these things.
Yes.
So that does raise the question. We're gonna make a decision at some point whether to keep them or not. So what's the disposal method that we're envisioning?
That's a very good question. That's why I have been here under my concerns. Right now, there is not a good mechanism in place for recycling of the batteries. So, okay, we get to the 8-year, 9-year mark, and we decide to keep that vehicle, and the motor dies or the batteries die. Is that car going to have any value at all at that point, or is it going to cost us? The federal government, they're working on this, but at this point in time, there's not a good mechanism for recycling of the batteries.
It's all the industry, the technology is all nascent. So we're going to have a lot of open-ended questions. That's why they're giving us grants, of course.
And that's sort of why I'm trying to.
The battery technology in particular is changing rapidly, and even the types of production plants that are going to be in place are going to change a lot. So do we have any opportunity to future-proof here to make sure that, like, in a very short period of time, say 4 years, 5 years, and we're not stuck with, obsolescence. Is there any way to know that? Is it just too?
I don't know the answer to that.
But they haven't said anything in these grants about
No,
addressing those issues. Okay,
no.
all right. Now, one of the big things that's going on in the industry right now is talking about, they know what the limitations on the battery, so they're now working on the swappable batteries, so you can actually just carry a battery with you, swap it, swap out, so you can go considerably further. Is there any, if that becomes the new standard in like 2 years, if that's possible, do we have any ability to adapt to that, or we're just kind of gonna run with what we got?
My fear of that in 2 years would be voiding any type of warranty.
Okay.
I did read a little bit about that, but I didn't delve into it much just because of the fact that these batteries will be warranted for 4 to 8 year,
Okay.
and the fact that these vehicles that we're targeting, we're looking at the close range dropping of those.
So, but they'll still be functional. So it's lots of people drive old cars, myself.
Sure.
So is there the electric chargers we're buying? They're all hardwired into the grid, correct?
Correct.
Do we have any opportunity? The county has looked at, I think twice now, the option of perhaps deploying photovoltaic on a campus basis. So we'd have our own basically solar factory, solar cell. Do we have any ability to tie these together? Is there any ability?
Well, there's so when Wilson Engineering did the study for electric vehicles, they also did a solar study at that time for us as well, and they looked at a couple of different properties. At 1601, where 4 of these chargers are going to be placed, once the transportation center goes in there, I don't know that there's going to be space there left to put enough solar panels to make sense. I do know that the weight limitations on that roof, they're pretty close to the maximum there. So that's
Top is out.
yeah, the rooftop at 1601 is definitely out.
Okay. Even with a supporting frame, like a cantilever or something, could do.
I mean, we certainly could look at something like that. We could look at something like that if you wanted. I mean, it's a possibility.
Cross that bridge when we come to it, but
It's a possibility. A lot of the solar.
obviously paying attention to the issue. So
Yeah. A lot of the solar, there's a lot of grant money out there. It's being pushed. It's being pushed pretty hard. But when you look at the numbers that get presented in most cases, they fail to look at many different things. They fail to look at the maintenance cost. They fail to include the fact that you're going to be replacing some of the components at the 10 and 12 year mark. They fail to talk about how are you going to dispose of them at end of life, because they don't have that figured out. So, and when you start building in all of those additional costs with the solar, you're not getting the financial gain that you might be led to believe by first looking at a chart.
okay. Well, a lot of these things will become clear just through adoption and living the life experience, as it were. So,
Sure.
Your answers are giving me great confidence that you're well aware of the range of issues, the knowns and unknowns.
Oh yeah. We've been looking at it. We've been looking at it for sure.
I think that's everything I have.
I have one more question. Brent, you did, I think I said, you did look at the hybrid vehicles, the gas and electric.
So the study, when they did the study, they looked at all three. They looked at the hybrids, they looked at the plug-in hybrids, they looked at the battery.
Right.
I honed down to just the battery vehicles. I didn't look at the hybrids. I didn't look at the plug-in hybrids because they weren't available for the AFIG grant money. So I honed in on just the battery ones. I will say that I have had a conversation with the sheriff department. They have 12 vehicles that were slated as being great opportunities for the hybrid because of the amount of idle time. Whenever they would sit idle, they'll be running on battery, not gas. The sheriff's department actually reached out to other sheriff's department across the state. I think just about every county responded, and there's quite a few counties that have gone to their sheriffs have gone to hybrid. A lot of the smaller counties, I don't think, maybe don't have the funds and haven't done it, but the larger counties have moved, and several of them that have made the move have liked it and are continuing to purchase more. But I didn't, the plug-in hybrids, I didn't, and the actual hybrids, I didn't look at those
Because of the grant money.
because of the grant one. Yeah.
And the range difference between the two hybrid types is significant or not?
Between the HEV, the hybrid electric, and the plug-in hybrid is a significant difference. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I think where you really would gain with the plug-in hybrid would be if you did a lot of close driving, and that was it. But their cost, like I think even the plug-in hybrids, I think are even more than the battery electric ones, I think, for the most part.
Brent, when you say that on the Bolt, battery warranty is 8 years.
Yes.
Okay, so like my combustion vehicle, I have 5 years, right? Covers the whole car. Sometimes you can get 7 years on a powertrain. So what's the warranty on the rest of the vehicle?
The rest of the vehicle is very comparable to the gas model.
Okay.
For instance, the Chevy Bolt, I think it has the three-year, 36,000 mile bumper to bumper. I think it has the 5-year drivetrain. Different manufacturers are a little bit different.
Okay.
But really, for easy speaking, they're mostly the same except for the battery,
Battery, which is 8. Okay.
which is 8. And they're doing that because it is a federal mandate that the manufacturers provide 8-year warranty. Now what they do, each manufacturer will set the level of battery capacity, and when they determine that it's is under warranty and needs replaced, most of them are 70%. So they'll allow it to go down to 70% capacity before they'll say that battery's bad and needs replaced.
Other questions? It's a pretty good outline. Just good investigative work here. We are requested to take action on this today. Do we want to chime in?
I will move to approve the capital project request for facilities for electric vehicle purchases and charging station install with a total project cost of $400,000 contingent upon the alternative fuels grant.
Yes.
Okay,
Alternative fuels incentive grant.
alternative fuels incentive grants, thank you.
Stacy, has Keith reviewed any of this?
I'm sorry, one more
Has
time.
Keith reviewed any of this?
Yeah, he would have, he will review the grant paperwork when it comes through. But I do not believe, no, he has not reviewed the capital project request.
Maybe make that motion contingent upon his review.
Sure,
Would the
would
board
amend
be
that
okay with
motion?
that?
Yeah,
Okay, so we have the motion. Do we have the second?
I'm a second.
Okay, moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Good. Interesting stuff. Okay, brings us on to final discussion item for today, formally, and it's discussion approval of the grant program radio award letter. Stacy, discuss this draft with us.
Yeah, I'll kick it off and then Bob is joining us online. So essentially, there was a village that came together to create the letter that you see before you. It basically takes the motion that was passed last week and really nails down exactly what that means for each recipient, whether they purchase Motorola, L3 Harris, or a combination of both. This letter, once approved, we'll do a mail merge and get that sent out to all of the recipients. And then, last week, Bob did mention that we would have the agreement letter. We just needed a little bit more time to make sure that the exact wording, everybody's comfortable with that. Keith does have a draft of that available for Bob and myself to review. And we anticipate bringing that forward next week. The letter does indicate that in the next week, they'll receive the agreement letter as well as the payment request form for reimbursement if they do purchase L3 Harris. Bob, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I don't think I have a lot to add, just that the matrix, we do have the matrix. We rebuilt tabs that do outline the allocations for both Harris and Motorola based on the portable pricing and mobile pricing for each vendor. And we were able to request a pseudo email, if you will, for the grant and contract paperwork processing, so that'll keep that simple for everyone. P25admin@cumberlandcountypa.gov. So we have that included. IMTO was finishing making that available and ready. I think that'll be done yet today. And other than that, we are able to process then for either vendor or a combination of both. So and I think that's all spelled out pretty well here in the award letter.
And you'll see highlighting throughout the letter. Public safety has been working hard to develop a spreadsheet that will have all of the information that will get plugged in. And then IMTO has really nailed down the easiest way to use an Adobe plugin to then shoot all of these out by email, each individual letter in one fell swoop, instead of having staff hitting the send button on each individual email, which means we're able to process these types of requests much faster. And Bob mentioned the baseline matrix and the allocation. The two highlights in the body of the letter will actually indicate a full award amount for each of the recipients for Motorola as well as for L3 Harris. And then obviously it does give instructions there for how they can estimate, if they choose to buy both types of radios, how they can estimate what their amount will be.
Okay, so each agency will get this letter, their own respective amounts for a full purchase of Motorola versus a full purchase of Harris. And if they decide to mix it up, they can do so, obviously.
Yeah, and it does. I don't want to say that it's simple.
Yeah.
But I think it's straightforward of exactly what numbers they need to use in order to determine an estimated amount of their award if they choose to purchase both types of radios.
Okay.
The calls, there's still going to be calls.
I'm sure, and that's why it was really important to the P25 admin email.
All right. Okay. For the people who pick up the phone and call us, we're going to tell them.
We'll work that out with Bob, because it really should be someone in Bob's house. Yes. I would think. Brian is busy, but if there's somebody that works with Brian closely that could have those answers, or we'll figure that out, Bob. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have staff available here too that are familiar with the matrix and the spreadsheet and the allocation amounts, and can answer any questions and details on specific questions.
And we can certainly, if you want to approve this contingent upon, we're certainly able to edit it and include a phone number. Just put the public safety phone number.
Is there a reason it's, as you said, the answer is going to come from Bob's shop? Is there a reason this letter's not coming from Bob's shop?
It's an award letter from the board. I mean, they can certainly do the letter, but it was an award from the board. Any other questions for us?
I think it was well worked.
Seven versions, Bob? is what we ended up with before we came to the final
I
version.
would anticipate there will be some questions about this sentence. It has also been explained by L3 Harris that orders will be processed immediately rather than being held until closer to the P2.5 network go live. That just seems like there would be some questions about that, but I think probably L3 Harris has to answer those.
Yeah, and if memory serves, I think that the way that I've heard it from Bob's shop is they are giving them an extended warranty in order to accommodate that, but that is all being worked out between L3 Harris and whoever is purchasing those L3 Harris radios.
So we're out of that.
We're out of that. That has nothing to do with us.
I'll make a motion, but Stacy, what was your contingency again?
Contingent upon adding the phone number for public safety.
And I'll make a motion that we approve the Cumberland County Grant Program P25 radio report letter contingent upon adding the Cumberland County Public Safety phone number.
A second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any further questions? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item 5, which is other business. We have additional issues, anything? Staff? Yes, no? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.